I'm joined by, well, I suppose at the moment, not Longford footballer Mickey Quinn, but I'm sure you will be returning pretty soon. I might come to that in a little bit of time. But just first of all, there was plenty of games over the weekend, the final round of the league. And a game that you had a particular focus on was Monaghan beating Meath 214 to 117. What were your thoughts on that game? And just from even a Monaghan point of view, first of all, where do you think they're at going into the championship?
I think Monaghan they're one of those teams that they've got so much firepower up front. Like I was even trying to go back through their scores. I think a spread of 7 different scores, and Conor McKenna had hit 1-8 out of that. So when you have a spread of scores and someone chipping in with that much, and probably in the past you'd have said Monaghan are very reliant on Conor McManus, but from watching the game, I don't think they are as reliant as they would have been in the past. But what he offers them, and you've young Brannigan there, Desi Ward chipping in with scores, Finn Kelly, and then the running power. One of the things that was most impressive with was Carl O'Connell as a line breaker, and his willingness to break a line or carry a ball forward. Like I think, especially in wintry conditions and the way teams are set up defensively, there is that lateral style of football that happens, and not taking on your man and playing it safe, but his willingness to break a tackle and come at the right time, and his change of speed caused an awful lot of problems for Meath. From the Meath side of things, Meath's a real physical team, and that's something that this time of year, and if they get the rub of the green from the referee, it might suit them. I do think they're probably playing on the edge a little bit with their tackling and stuff. There's a few yesterday, and discipline can be an issue for them. Depends on the ref, but they're definitely throwing themselves about, and it's something that you look at the physique of them. They're not going to be a team that's going to be taken lightly from that side.
Because this was the first time that Meath picked up any points at all in the league. They'd lost the previous 6 games. They got a draw here. But I have to say, from watching them lately, and if you take out one of the league games where I think it might have been Donegal who battered them in that game, that in general Meath have been very, very competitive in most games and aren't all that far away. I'm not saying they're going to win championship silverware this year or next year. I don't think so. But they're not that far away, or certainly not as far as they were.
No, and I suppose one of the things when you go up through the divisions, like your division 3 to 2 and 2 to 1, is that how teams punish mistakes. So whether it be a defensive mistake or whether it be not taking your chances. For example, like one of the things that stood out to me is the quality of hand passing in the Meath Monaghan game. Like hand passes going to chests, hitting runners on the shoulder, breaking lines, almost like rugby pop passes that they're timed correctly and getting lads in. And there's a PAM goal for both teams. And then probably talking about the chances that's missed, like that PAM goal opportunity that Meath missed, it was a sitter. And then that's the difference in that goal in the back of the net. Probably a breakdown in communication with the two guys, but it should have been a sitter. I'm not sure who exactly passed it or who missed that chance. It was in the first half. But for teams to be getting in for PAM goal opportunities, it means that they're playing a strong running game and supporting the man on the ball right through and finishing out the runs. And that's something that Monaghan and Meath showed a lot of yesterday.
Do you think that Monaghan can go deep into this championship? I know there's no back door this year, and they've probably got a more favourable draw in the first round against Cavan. They will expect to win that game. Do you see Monaghan as a team that can go deep?
I think so. I think one of the things that I probably jotted down here, and it's a different championship, and probably you talk about it in different ways, but the conditions are different. Like why have Monaghan stayed in Division 1 for so long? Conditions suit them a little bit better. They have distance scorers, and they have a keeper that can kick the ball long and beat a defence. And I think Tyrone are similar with Niall Morgan too, with Rory Began able to kick massive scores and also to beat the defensive setups with a kick out alone. That's going to play a huge part. On top of their strong running game, with the likes of across the middle third in the half back line and the half forward line, they've got strong runners and just the spread of scores. So I think on their day, if they get things right, they'll be a match for anyone. Obviously, the big two, your Kerry Dublin's different ball game. Then things might change slightly, but I think they're going to be thereabouts come championship or come the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's mad how quickly it's coming up. But just a final point on Meath. The fact that they got 3 unanswered points in injury time from Jordan Morris to salvage a draw here, do you think that does much for your confidence, the fact that you've finally beaten the sort of, or broken your run of games where you've lost?
Definitely. I think if you're in Meath's position, you have to start, after losing 6 games, you have to start taking, not moral victories, but you have to start taking things that are positives. You can't be, we're after losing, we haven't won a game this year. Like, there's no point in going down that road, because it's not really going to get you anywhere. Like, it's been a learning curve for them. And as you said, the last couple of games, what they've showed, they've definitely improved and are improving. And the likes of Tomas O'Reilly and Jordan Morris popping up with a high score from both of them, and two reasonably rookie players on the scene stepping up, which is brilliant to see. And I think they're 2 guys that look like they're going to come to the fore for the next few years for Meath.
I know you didn't see the whole lot of the Dublin against Galway game, and ultimately Dublin ran out 2-goal winners, 2-15 to 15 points. But in a wider sense, do you see any weaknesses in Dublin this year? In the past, we would have expected them to beat Meath quite well, and they went something like 7 points ahead in that game, and Meath brought it back to 1. You know, they saw them off by 4 for a finish. In this game, went a little bit behind. We saw Cluxton, a few kickouts went wrong, a few unforced errors, and you know, Jack McCaffrey's not there. A few other guys have retired, so the quality of training matches, you'd imagine, without Brogue and Diarmuid Connolly and so on, that it does drop back a little bit. And they've a new manager in there. They've already created history. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the thing with Dublin is the quality of their leadership that they have with players like Johnny Cooper, Philly McMahon, Kieran Kilkenny, Dean Rock. Like, there's so many guys there that are kind of driving standards behind the scenes. Kevin McMenamin there coming on with 7 or 8 minutes to go. Like, there's so many of those characters that it's not really. I think their standards are still set high, whether when it comes to the crunch or little mistakes and things start to pop up. Like, they manage that game really well, and that's something that, like, Galway probably needed to be ahead by 7 or 8 points with that wind in the first half to actually, okay, now we can set up and maybe hold Dublin out. You know, they're taking the right options the whole time. Like, even Kieran Kilkenny coming up there and clipping over a point. There was, I think, 2 fisted points. I think Dean Rock took a fisted point in the first half, when I'm saying to myself, Jesus, any other forward would have taken it, went for the goal. But that bit of game smarts that, okay, we're against probably a 7 or 8 point win here, any score in this half is worth its weight in gold. And that bit of smarts to keep the scoreboard ticking over. And I don't know what they went in at half time. Was there a point in it, or was it level?
It was close. Yeah, it was either a point or level, as far as I remember. Yeah.
So, like, and with the win that they had, Galway knew that they were going to have it hard in the second half. But like Paul Conroy, some of the scores he kicked in the first half was super to see, and it's great to see a guy like that back in the mix for Galway after probably a horrendous injury, and testament to him to come back to the level that he's at. And Shane Walsh and Damien Comer are still probably not back fully there. So Galway, it's hard to read into where they're at. Dublin, likewise too, is one of those games that, you know, Dublin always have a little extra in the tank there. Like James McCarthy there just driving things at midfield, and like Sean Bulger coming on there and getting 1-1. Like they always have that in the arsenal, and that's the thing with Dublin. You lock down 2 or 3 guys and someone else pops up, and that's the worry. Like Brian Fenton at midfield and James McCarthy, I don't think at midfield you're going to get a better partnership across the board.
In a wider sense for Galway, like you've been in a team, and I'm sure you've had a very disappointing result or a heavy loss at some stage, as they did last week against Mayo, and maybe it feels like all the good work that was done earlier in the league, albeit many months ago at this stage, was undone. Like how much can a result like that really unsettle you going into a season, or how hard is it to turn it around?
Yeah, I think one of the things too that because games are coming thick and fast, to be used to that, like in the league when the games are coming week in, week out, there's no real time, bounce back, go again. And one of the things with championship, you have that 2 week window before, or maybe a 3 or 4 week window before your next championship game. Whereas at the moment, there's patch up, go on, right, we need to tidy up that. And that's something that's changed. Like, Galway would probably be happy with how they bounce back after Mayo game. Looking back on it, was there a load of work done? And before that Mayo game, training wise, trying to get a bit of volume in. Did Jim McGuinness do a bit more than was on that video? Who knows? Like, it's kind of hard to know what's happening behind the scenes. No more than this weekend, there's certain teams that had to play for something, and then there's other teams that you're a week out from championship. Right, we got to protect cotton wool and bubble wrap around our top players for next week. So, and I think Galway were a little bit in that position, and Dublin have such quality that they probably didn't need to do that. And then you look at Donegal, they rested a few guys too, because 3 games in 3 weeks, very quickly, and like championship pace, whatever about the pace of the league. 2 games next weekend. It'll be just interesting to see from an injury point of view whether guys will start picking up knocks and even soft tissue injuries in the next week or so.
And have to have a word about Conor McKenna and his performance for Tyrone, because he was unbelievable again. And he's scored, I think it is 3-4 in the 2 league games that he's played in the space of a couple of weeks. But a question I want to ask you, because you would obviously been down in the AFL yourself, does it take much time to get used to playing on the ground again in Ireland? Because I'd imagine that the ground is obviously harder over there, like grass is grass or whatever, but you are playing obviously in a different climate down there. And I thought when Tommy Walsh came back from playing in Australia, now he'd had his hamstring problems, but I thought that he looked like a guy who was a bit unsteady on his feet running around the pitch, whereas now he looks fine. But did you find it took time to acclimatise?
Yeah, probably my first game back, I think, was against DCU in a Byrne Cup game up in Ballymahon in Longford. Like, so there was a fair difference. Like, when you're slogging and training for a few weeks, whereas Conor's went straight back in, and probably 1 or 2 bits and pieces there that you think, oh, soft ground, or trying to get used to that. But how he's adapted and changed, I think it's the type of player that he is. It's why he was so good in the AFL and what he brings. And he's one of those probably enigmas, that a bit of a Jeremy Connolly-esque type of player, that he gives you that unpredictability and takes risks that probably goes against a little bit what Mickey Hart is about. But you need those players. Like, you need players that take risks are the ones that are going to lose you a match or win you a match. But they're the ones that are remembered at the same time. And that's something that I think Conor McKenna brings to Tyrone. Like, he's probably winning games there, or he's moments in games, the last 2 matches he's played, where he's done something that you'll remember. You remember the hit on Michael Murphy, remember the goals he's after scoring. Like, he's a big player, and I think that's what he's going to give Tyrone, that, not this safe lateral pass, and like playing an outside of the boot kick pass over the top of a defender in October on the outside of the boot to play in for a goal. Like, none of this safe, I take the right option, a little punt pass. No, go for it. And I think that's one thing that maybe the little bit of a break from football, that players are taking risks and taking chances. Like, the stats kind of goes out a little bit out the window a bit, that lads are willing to kind of take those chances, which is great. And I think that's why some of the scores are so high and some of them are so good. Like, that pass from Conor on the outside of the boot down the line, and then even just his general play. Like, I don't even know what position he's playing for Tyrone, and I think having that bit of freedom for a player like that, you have to allow for it, because what he brings, 2-2, what did he set up or have a hand in? He offers that much that you say, right, you do you, and wherever you go, just do what you're doing and keep doing it, because he has a fitness level, he has speed, he can score, he can pass, he can be a playmaker, he can score, he can be a line breaker. When you have a player like that and that can read the game and impact the game how they want to, you just got to let them off and do what they're doing, because when you start to pigeonhole, and that's what I found a little bit with Aussie rules, and probably from talking to a few guys in the similar boat, it's like that very structured, and positions and tactics, and should be here when this is happening. Whereas Conor seems to be the sort of player that he reads the game and does what he does. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you'd prefer to be that type of player than, I was solid, I'd done my role and played a safe game. And they're the players that everyone wants to come and watch. Everyone wants to turn on the telly and watch Conor McKenna playing now. I think he's probably the player at the moment where Tyrone are playing, or I want to see him. And there's probably another few players around the country similar, but I think he's definitely up there at the moment.
Yeah, Donncha Boyle did a piece in The Independent the other day talking about the 63 players who had gone out from Ireland to the AFL. Obviously you were one of them. Would Conor McKenna have ever touched base with you before he went out, or since, or during?
No, it was the same club, but I think I was gone maybe 2 years by the time he arrived. So it's funny, it's like ships in the night there with certain, and even guys that you're out there with, John Heslin a little bit, when I was out there for a week or two. And even I think I was home when Kieran Kilkenny went out. So it's funny, it turns over so quickly. But you almost think that 63 players in how many years is that? It's not that much all the same when you break it down over whatever number of years. And I think there was a big year where 9 guys went out. I think there was a few Kildare guys from the same club, and but it's amazing when you see what any guy that has played 10, 20, 30, and see Zach Toohey, 200 games, Conor McKenna over 50, even Tanto Halpine, what some of those guys have done, it's phenomenal.
Did you feel a pressure when you came home, because you've been a professional athlete, that you must come in and not just try and fit in and get used to, but you must come in and drive the team straight away? And that's probably what Conor McKenna is experiencing in Tyrone.
It probably was a bit, probably naive, to the sense that maybe that naivety was a good thing coming home, that you want to do everything and change this and change that, and bring back different bits and pieces. And there is that probably honeymoon period for those couple of years at the beginning where what you're doing, guys are going to probably lift to what you're doing. If there's something different at training, or little standards or traits that you might bring back, that you're going to lift the general bunch, on top of maybe management asking questions, or what would you have done here, or different bits and pieces. That honeymoon period of everyone willing to buy in or learn from what you might have that's different, or on top of the other side of things that you're trying to pick up or learn bits and pieces that you might have came across for the last number of years. So I think probably Conor is bringing that. The only thing is it happening too quick to offer that much? I think it might actually suit him, that it's just like, let me play, that's it. I'll do me, and that's it. Yeah. So I think that could suit the championship coming so quickly for him, that he's in peak fitness, tidy up some basic skills and stuff, but looking at the outside of the boot, I think that's all right.
And it's mad to believe that either Donegal or Tyrone are going to be gone out of the championship this weekend, that either Michael Murphy will be finished, or Conor McKenna. Actually, I know it's a few days out yet, but what's your sense of who'll win that? Tough one, isn't it?
It is. Probably looking the way Donegal, it goes both ways. Donegal decided to rest players for last weekend. Is that a good thing? Will that kind of freshen those fellas up towards the end, or is it one of those things that you can't switch off, that Tyrone have the momentum going into it after playing, their tails are up, I don't know. It's like I'd be going. You start matching up their top players, and then you start matching up their keepers. And keepers, the two of them, what they offer, very similar. And long kick out. Ryan McHugh, Michael Murphy, two guns for Donegal. If Tyrone can lock down those two alone, it would be massive. Whereas I think what Tyrone have with such a spread, it might be enough to get them across the line. But as you said, to imagine Michael Murphy or Conor McKenna or Tyrone or Donegal out this early, you're kind of thinking, geez, haven't even thought that far ahead. It's a shame.
Yeah. And have any other teams outside of Division 1 impressed you? I mean, Roscommon, they're after getting promoted, and so are Armagh. And you've probably seen a bit of Armagh in recent times.
Yeah, Armagh definitely. They're building and coming for a long time. Well, 2-3 years there now under McGeady. They've definitely started building, and they've got a spread of players. That's mature, and then the youth coming through. Like you've Faulkner and Morgan in defence there, and then you've the O'Neills that are just really stepping up. And like that versatility seems to be massive now. For players that can kind of slide in and slide out from inside forward to midfield, pop up with scores, and that's what the O'Neills have been doing for Armagh. You've Jamie Clark there that's just tipping away quietly, but what he offers, it's probably something that when you look at forward play, even Conor McManus's goal at the weekend, how he turned his marker and got in round the back, and his basic movement, and Jamie Clark is doing that on a regular basis and probably making the O'Neills look good, making space for them and playing off them, which is it's something that Armagh are playing really well as a team. Roscommon just have a knack for staying up there, Division 1, Division 2, and getting results. Like Donny Smith last man of the match at the weekend, and then the weekend before was Enna that was popping up with the penalties. Like a spread Jimmer Murta back into the squad, and was there 6 or how many changes was there from the week before? I think it was
something
6 or 9.
Something like that, yeah.
And that's something that probably when you go up to Division 1s and 2s, that having that strength of a panel to make changes and adapt when you're playing week in, week out. And I think that's where probably the weaker counties, your Division 3s and 4s, are going to struggle week in, week out. Picking up knocks or injuries is where they're caught. But when you're bringing on Donny Smith and Jimmer Murta, and one of them's getting man of the match as a result of guys been rested or whatever from the previous week, it shows what the quality of players Roscommon have.
And just jumping down to Division 3, where your own Longford have been operating, Cork were already going up as champions of Division 3. Down have joined them, but the way things worked out, had Longford fulfilled their fixture with Cork and beaten them, Derry would have gone up. So what were your thoughts on Longford not going through with that fixture?
Yeah, I wasn't sure exactly. Look, it was one of those things I said, Jesus, Loud bet down last year in the last game to stop them going up. And then it happens again. Loud beat them in the last game. But it was one of those things, I think it made sense from probably an overall outside perspective to look in and say, is there any point in Cork travelling up? What are Cork going to bring up, first of all? Are they going to bring a full team? Looking back, did the likes of Michael Murphy and Ryan McHugh travel down to Kerry for that game? Would Cork have travelled up with their full squad? There was talk that before Level 5 came in that they were going to be staying in Johnson House to break up the journey. Was it going to be a bit of a training camp for half the squad and the other half were going further afield? I think it was what seemed like the right decision at the time. I think it still was. From Longford's side of things, I think we had to beat Cork. Other results, or the results had to go our way, which they actually did. But then I think scoring difference came down to it, and then the scoring difference with Leitrim had to be taken out across the board because Leitrim didn't play the game against Down. So I don't know where that ended up. I didn't bother doing the maths on it.
Yeah, I think Derry would be a little bit sore about it. But anyway, we'll move on from that. Your own decision to step away from the panel. So you had a baby girl recently, and between that and the rising cases in the last couple of weeks, you decided to just step away for this championship.
Yeah, look, it's funny, just put things in perspective a little bit. It was one of those stop-start years with everything that was happening between COVID initially, and I thought coming back after lockdown with the club that it was moving really well and felt good. And then 48-week ban saga that cropped up then with the club just really put sour taste in things. And I was joking there saying that was Longford going to get a 48-week ban for not playing the game against Cork, or I think it was a €200 fine instead, or for not playing those games. So that kind of started things again. And then there was a bit of an outbreak where there's our semi-final was cancelled, or our last group game, as a result of close contact. So on top of little Alice arriving there 3 weeks ago, so I kind of thought, do you know what? There's bigger, more important things, and it kind of put things, the club situation where it ended up being a close contact, and it cropped up that I mightn't have been a chance to be with Kate when she went into labour, and that kind of really hit home that, was it worth going training and something like that happening, missing the birth of your child. So made me think about things a lot, and probably the last few weeks, or the way the season had gone for me, that I kind of felt my fitness level dropping by not playing games on a regular basis. And I thought it's an opportunity. It's something I wanted to do for a while, was to just solely focus for a good few weeks and just put together, get the body right and hit the ground running for a full season. Especially when you're getting on, you want everything to be right, rather than going into games week on week, very little sleep, and then you're doing a hamstring or something, then you're wondering, why that happened. On top of just getting to spend time with your family and friends, it's been massive to be at home and enjoy that. And one of the things that probably hits home, or one of my decisions for coming home from Australia, apart from being let go, was that you play because you want to be around your family and friends and share those memories, and they enjoy it so much that you want to make them enjoy it. But me heading off to Derry last weekend and leaving family behind, and not knowing, gone for a full day, and you're only really, it's more anxiousness and worry when you're leaving, that everything's going to be okay. So that kind of made up my mind myself. So I was pretty happy with it. And obviously it's difficult or tough looking at it, and probably be tough for next week with championship starting. But I do think hopefully bigger picture will suit me in the long run.
I spoke with Pádraig Davis, your manager, and he seemed, content enough in the sense that you had your mind made up and you had your reasons for it, and that you were planning on coming back for 2021. Have you taken to fatherhood easily enough?
2 minutes 53 seconds, the quickest snappy change yet. So I know I'm kind of, whatever I can do, I'm trying to do. I don't think no dad of the year yet anyway, so there's lots to improve on and change. I think it's a bit of a learning curve, no more than a lot of other things. You learn as you go, or won't make that mistake twice.
Good stuff. And then just to talk about, I suppose, Longford being in the championship this weekend against Louth. Now it was the end of January when they met, and I presume you were playing in that match at the end of January. You won by 16 points to 110. What sort of rivalry do you have with Louth? They're not exactly near neighbours.
No, but I think we've been playing them on a regular basis, home and away, for the last probably 3, 4, 5 years. I think we've nearly played them in league or championship every year. It's funny too, when that rivalry does build up, like Offaly there for a number of years, Offaly and ourselves. Before that was Wexford and ourselves, that you're playing them twice a year between league and championship. So I think there is a good rivalry, and probably home and away there, it's been fairly split the last number of years with Longford and Louth, who's came out the best. But that win for them against Down is going to be huge. It's definitely got their tails up after probably a poor campaign for them. So I think they're probably hitting the ground running at the right time. Longford, it'd be just interesting. I thought the Derry game, it just took us a while to get going, and probably lacking getting scores on the board. But I think the last 2 weeks meant that there was a lot of work that could have been done. So you'd hope that work would stand to Longford, and hopefully a bit of freshness with the last 10-15 minutes could be the difference.
And personnel wise, obviously you're not involved, but Darren Gallagher, he was away last year, he's involved. I think maybe, I'm not 100% sure, is Robbie Smith involved? Obviously a very good forward as well. Do Longford have more or less everyone that they'd want outside of yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I think just finding that balance with the squad and positioning, and I think that's probably something that not having a game might have helped things. That, finding your best six or your best six forwards or defenders, like a lot of positions probably more or less made up, but little tactical swaps or changes would be the finer details that could have been worked on. So like it's a really strong midfield there that Longford have the last number of years, with Kevin Diffley coming back into the squad this year. He's been huge to play alongside Darren Gallagher and give Darren a bit of a chop out, because what Darren offers going forward is huge, and his fitness levels are huge. But when you're trying to have your midfielder getting on the scoring sheet and do the work of a midfielder, he needs a partner and a chop out from someone to give him that freedom, and that's what Kevin has offered.
And then just the final thing, what would be a good season for Longford?
Yeah, look, at a good season would be beating Louth and beating Laois, and then your bonus territory in my eyes from there. To imagine anyone that's out of a championship next weekend is a bad season, which it's difficult to look at it that way. But when it's over so quickly, a good season and a bad season could be different in 2 weeks for us. But definitely it would be very disappointing to leave next weekend and be knocked out of the championship. So I think getting the win against Louth, and I don't think anyone's looking too far further than that,